Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the White Album 2 mini after story. We are going to be reading through Setsuna's ending. So the mini after story is canon to the story. It occurs after Setsuna's true ending when Setsuna and Haruki are married. So let's go ahead and begin her chapter 1. Whew. After taking a hot shower and stiffening myself up, I finally got accustomed to the winter air. It was cold today, but the weather was beautiful. The sound of the washing machine and the light from the window announced the beginning of the day. Well, I say beginning, when really we had already spent some time lazing around. But today was Sunday, after all. That was permissible. And now, Sunday's customary battle would begin. Setsuna. Come on, get up already. Just a little more. It's 10:30 already. 10:30 in the day. Yes, it's 10:30 in the morning. I would hate living with Haruki. 10:30 on a Sunday, and he's like trying to shove somebody out of bed. And 10:30 is definitely still morning time. Yes, our fierce struggle over how long morning was allowed to last. In 30 minutes, breakfast specials will stop being served. It is very clearly daytime. Or, to turn it around, there is still 30 minutes of morning left. If you were the sort of person who could properly wake up within 30 minutes, that might pass for an excuse. Okay. I think morning is until noon. Maybe that's just me. Even if it's past 11, I still think it's morning. It's considered AM. This is my first real Sunday in forever without any events or store visits. Please just let me sleep a little more. My hypotensive princess was weak in the morning, which made her strong. Strong-willed, that is. At times like this, she was like a traveler fighting against the north wind. With only half-hearted force, she was immovable. So, I had no choice. All right. Good night, Setsuna. Thank you, Haruki-kun. I love you. Now I'm gonna try my hand at making us some lunch. Sleep tight until I'm finished. No. Did you say something? Yes, until she was bathed by the light of the sun. No, Haruki-kun, you can't do any cooking. It's a matter of wifely honor. You and I both work. There's nothing wrong with me making it. And anyhow, you're worn out from your job. I shouldn't say poor Setsuna, but Setsuna is such a wifely type, and she always has been. And this is emphasizing it, even just within the first 5 minutes of the first part of it. She doesn't even want him to cook. I don't want to hear that from the one who leaves the house before I do and comes back home later than I do every day. I normally leave everything to you, so I at least have to return the favor on Sundays. But Haruki-kun, you always snatch laundry and cleaning duty away from me at the first opportunity too. If I can't at least hang on to cooking, I'll look bad. Then get up, I'm starving. Way to turn it around. If you leave me to my own devices, I'll be forced to make food for myself. Oh, you demon, fiend, you treacherous chairman. Well, given that you are the princess, Miss Hojo High, I suppose you'd better abstain from any conduct that might mar your name. Wow. I know he meant it jokingly, and she probably takes that jokingly at this point, but that's super cruel. That's like bringing up some high school, middle school trauma, you know? In this way, as she wallowed in her happy indolence every weekend, my wife, I love that he can call her his wife, my wife still loudly asserted her rights as part-time housewife. Setsuna Ogiso, now Setsuna Kitahara. Wow, that sounds weird. That sounds really weird. Formerly an idol of the academy, Miss Hojo High, for 3 years running, currently a public relations idol at Knight's Record. Hey, we had an agreement. Will you get up now? You have to get me up, Haruki-kun. This was the side of Setsuna that she absolutely never showed anybody else. Like a spoiled child. No, like a princess. She reached out her hand from the bed. Yes, all right. Whoa! Caught you. Instead, she suddenly grabbed my hand, dragging me down onto the bed with her. You might as well go back to sleep with me, right, Haruki? No one would really blame you for it today, you know? You can say what you want, but I don't feel like sleeping at all. You know that. Yeah, because Haruki's the type of person who gets up at 6 in the morning, even on his day off. And it was perfectly clear that she wasn't planning on simply snoozing together, breathing quietly, but rather a more aggressive activity. Hey, Haruki-kun? For example, this, her lips brushing the base of my neck. If we do that, we'll just be even more hungry. Oh yes, we should be able to have a delicious lunch. Hey, it's still morning. We can't do this. It certainly doesn't seem as though this thinks we can't do it. For example, this. Her fingers touching my... This can't even talk in the first place. Setsuna, no, Haruki-kun. God, you're... Hey! I already mentioned this, but it was 10:30 in the morning. Who cares what time it is? You're literally living in a place by yourselves, and you're married. For a visitor to show up at this hour was not especially rude or anything. Now, Setsuna, will you wake up, please? Oh, right. Your mother said she was going to come by this morning to help. No, she didn't. She said it would be in the afternoon sometime. She's so impatient. And so, reviving our argument over how long morning lasted, we hurriedly jumped out of bed. Okay, but if you say afternoon, I mean, it's in the word itself. It's after noon. It's after 12 o'clock. We were nearing the end of December. A bit more than a year had passed since Setsuna made that little change to her surname. This was the story of those few days remaining, that winter, in a room like this. Wow, more than a year. So it really is an after story. Here's your tea, Mother. Oh, it sounds awkward in English, but in Japanese it's super, super common to just call your in-laws, like... Okasan, in this case, instead of just mother. Oh, please don't fuss over me. More importantly, allow me to apologize, Haruki-san. My daughter is such a sleepyhead. No, not at all. She's usually completely on top of things. Today's just one of her rare days off. He's right, Mom. You don't have to say stuff like that. And you, Setsuna, don't need to put in appearances at unnecessary times. Yes, at least get dressed and dry your hair first. What terrible behavior. Oh, I'm so sorry. I suppose my parents never taught me any manners. It's so awkward. But it's awkward in a way that's almost nice. Like seeing these family bickerings because they don't hate each other. They're so close. They're allowed to express their opinions so frankly like this. Again, I am so sorry. My husband spoiled her, so she grew up doing whatever she pleased. No, thank you. Thank you for letting her grow up so selfishly. Oh? Haruki-san, don't tell me you're the sort who delights in being tyrannized. No, it's not. Well, actually, sure. Let's say that. It's an awkward thing. That's a weird way to describe it. With an expression that was dubious, or maybe a little put off, Setsuna's mother took a long, hard look at me. But as I responded to her reaction with an ambiguous smile, possibly causing her to grow even more suspicious, feelings of gratitude rose up in my chest, saying, "Thank you, truly, for raising Setsuna however she liked, gently, normally, and strongly." After all, even after all the times that I had hurt her through my own errors, she endured, without once giving in. I mean, arguably, Setsuna is one of the strongest characters in the game. My opinion, absolutely one of the strongest characters, if not the strongest. Even when she did start to break a bit, she soon recovered. Because she was just like her father, and her mother, and her younger brother. Anyhow, the end of the year is busy as it is, and to think you're moving. What are you talking about, Mom? It's more efficient to get the move and the big cleanup taken care of at the same time. And anyway, the celebratory moving soba can also be used as New Year's Eve soba, so it's more efficient for our neighbors too. You could have lived here a little longer. The space is plenty for the two of you. I believe your husband was the one who got angry at me and said, "How long are you going to keep my daughter trapped in this tiny room?" So around the time of New Year's Eve in Japan, it's very, very customary to do a big clean of your house. It's like spring cleaning, but in Japan it's done around the New Year. So she's talking about, why do you have to do it now when we're trying to do like our New Year's cleaning and you're moving out? But like they said, it's efficient. The next Saturday, as my mother-in-law said, over a weekend approaching the end of the year, we were going to move out of this place where we had lived since our college days and into a 2-bedroom apartment 5 train stops away. And so, with our move only 1 week away, she had come today to help us prepare. "Come on, Mom, don't pack up all our tableware. How are we supposed to eat for the next few days?" "Make do with paper cups and plates. It's far better than panicking the day before and not having time to get everything cleared away." "We still have a week before we move. Start by packing up the stuff we don't use all the time." "No, not the TV. There's still stuff I want to watch." "My goodness, you're noisy. If you're going to be that way, then you can do the whole thing yourself, Setsuna." "I'll do it all myself, so you don't have to go to the trouble of coming here." These words of refusal, which came so naturally out of my mouth, provoked an extremely antagonistic response from the entire Ogiso family. And the moment I spoke them, everyone, including Setsuna, told me off. Oh no, everything's so awkward. "How much longer are you going to take this stiff attitude? There are limits to formality, you know. Come to think of it, weren't you acting like this the day before the ceremony too?" Well, I felt like there were some unreasonable things mixed in as well, but enough about that. Of course, they weren't bad people, and I loved them all, but there were still some gaps between their ways of thinking and mine, large enough that sometimes I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, laughter is one thing, but you probably shouldn't laugh in this situation. I mean, Haruki is absolutely super different than the whole Ogiso family, so them in a room together is just kind of funny. "Oh, look at this, Setsuna." "What, Mom? I'm busy doing all of this tidying by myself." "Forget about that for a moment and look at this. It's your middle school album." "Oh, so that's where it was. I knew I must have it somewhere, but I could never find it." Holding on to something like this in this tiny apartment, no wonder this place feels so cramped. Yes, I apologize for how small the place is. Aww. I mean, they want the best for their daughter. They want the best for their firstborn. Of course, it was her own daughter who so vehemently insisted, "This place will be just fine until we put some decent savings away." Oh my, this takes me back. Look, this is a picture of Setsuna in middle school. Look at this, Haruki-san. I've seen it plenty of times. I knew everything. Who her friends were in that class, who her enemies were, who all she'd made up with. And for that matter, listen to this. I even knew the class name and face of the soccer ace who asked her out, even though there wasn't really any need for her to tell me that much. Aww. At least it's kind of insinuated there that Setsuna told him all those things, rather than Haruki just being kind of creepy and looking them all up, because that's borderline stalkerish. You were so sweet and cute then. When did you turn into such a stubborn girl who never listens to what her mother says? Hey, Nagasaki, this was our school trip. Oh, yes, I remember. Setsuna, I seem to recall you were running a 38-degree fever until the day before. Yeah, I was. Dad told me not to go on the trip because of it. And you cried your eyes out saying you absolutely must go. You know, now that I think about it, this must have been the moment when you stopped doing as we told you. No, it wasn't. My temperature dropped to 36 by the next day. You do know that the thermometer was a bit off, and you didn't clamp it properly under your armpit either. Oh, wow, really? Yeah, so another big difference in Japan. Temperatures are pretty much never taken under the tongue like they are in the West. Always put under the armpit. Here, look at this picture. Your face is red and swollen. That's plain proof that your fever hadn't gone down at all. Whoa, my face looks weird. Ew, that's so embarrassing. Haruki-kun, you don't get to look at this. Okay, I'm not looking. Now, will you two please put that away? And so, thank you so much for today. You've really helped us out a lot. One day clearly wasn't enough, though. We'll come by again later. Hey, the two of us are going to be working up until the day of the move, so even if you do show up, there won't be anyone here. Oh, is that so? But there's still about half of the packing left to do. That's because we didn't make any progress at all. What exactly are you here for? Setsuna, you were goofing off with me the entire time. As their overall evaluation suggested, our moving preparations today did reach a pretty spectacular standstill. Starting with the album, then on to old books and comics, accessories that didn't fit with clothes she never wore anymore. Every time it was, wow, there's so much stuffed into this tiny apartment, with some item or another was excavated, and every time they stopped working and started talking. Okay, but that's pretty common. I mean, every time you try to clean a room or clean out a closet, you find a bunch of stuff that you forgot about, and it's really cool and exciting, so I'm kind of the same way. And even more frustratingly, the two of them just couldn't leave me out of the loop. And so, in the end, I got dragged into these breaks as well. Now, that didn't mean I was going to say aloud, at least I made some progress on my part. You're leaving already? You could at least have a meal here, right, Haruki-kun? Of course, by all means, eat with us. I would very much like to, but I can't. If you're worried about Dad and Takahiro, we can just have them go out to eat somewhere. Well, why don't you stay here a little longer? Although, when it came to this poor treatment of the men in that family, I couldn't exactly say, by all means. What do you mean, poor treatment? The wife can take one day off of cooking. That's not poor treatment. That's normal. Ugh, the traditional household. That's not it. I have other business to attend to. I'm going to see a play tonight with Kitahara-san. What? What? Why didn't you mention that sooner? I could have made you a box lunch or something at least. I'll be fine. Once the play is finished, we have a reservation at a French restaurant in Onjuku. Of course, you will keep this a secret from your father and brother. The Kitahara-san, to whom my mother-in-law referred, was, of course, neither me nor Setsuna. In which case, there was only one person bearing that name who came immediately to mind. Ooh, who could it be? There are two people. It's either Haruki's mom or Haruki's dad, and since Haruki's dad is not in this city, we can assume that she's going out with Haruki's mom. which is so crazy to me. And so I will take my leave now. Yes? No, never mind. Thank you very much. Before long, we'll see one another in your new home, won't we? Now, yes. She must not have gleaned anything from my expression and attitude, or else she did notice and simply let it slide by. My mother-in-law, with her usual attitude, simply left us normally. At some point, not only I, but also my mother, got wrapped up into the Ogiso family community. What I couldn't do, what I couldn't find the will to do, she managed to accomplish perfectly smoothly. That's got to be kind of painful. You fail to make a relationship with your mom for so long, and then suddenly this stranger becomes best friends with your mom. Like, I don't know. They have a lot more in common, obviously. They're middle-aged women, they're housewives, whatever. But still, it's kind of painful. Now then, why don't we have some dinner ourselves? Setsuna, did you know? Oh, no, not a thing. As she practically boasted this, she laughed, with a deeply mischievous look in her eyes. Honestly, this family... They weren't bad people, and I loved them all, but when it came to my way of thinking versus theirs, I definitely felt some gaps, large enough that I couldn't help but laugh. The fetters and discord that I had been running from for so long came barging in with muddy feet, and everything was transforming into a happily ever after. I wish we could just stop right there. Like, I always get nervous with White Album too, just because it's like, oh, everything's great. What's gonna happen next? You know what I mean? I had arranged a conclusion that I could never have imagined. Should we go back into the apartment? It's getting cold. Yeah. Truly, I never imagined it. That I would always spend Sunday evenings with family. That I would loaf around meaninglessly, watching TV that I really felt no need to watch, and savor food that I brought out whenever I pleased, and beer that I poured whenever I pleased. My partner bringing up bits of idle chit-chat one after another, getting cross when I didn't put enough effort into my responses and reactions, causing a significant bother when I needed to pacify her. I mean, you do have to respond to her nicely. She's your wife. These lively days, these pointlessly inefficient days, these unaccustomed days, days that I used to dream of, and now they were the days I spent. All of my negatives had turned to positives in this dreamlike end to things. No, not a dream and not an end. The continuation of a happy reality. I'm so happy for them. And you know, this is a really big thing when he talks about these pointlessly inefficient days, because all along, Haruki has been so driven to just work, 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 be productive, help everybody, such a busybody. And the fact that he can just sit on the couch, watch TV with his wife, and find happiness from that is such character growth, finding this happiness in the little things. And I love that, and I'm really, really glad he even acknowledged that growth in himself. That's also very important. So, we will stop there for this chapter. Thank you so much for being here for Setsuna's Chapter 1 of the mini after story, and I'll be back with the next part shortly. So until then, hope you take care. See you!